Bayan men bombs oil facility in the Niger Delta barely 24 hours after they threatened to do so. Is it a fight for justice or an attempt to make money? We'll find out this morning.
The government begins a resettlement plan for them. We'll be talking about this.
And Aviation Minister Hadi Sirika announces new time for the launch of a national carrier after failed attempts in the past. It's April 2022. Well, glad to have you join us on The Breakfast on Plus TV Africa. I am Justin Akadonye.
It's a very beautiful morning and thanks for joining us. I am Messi Bopo. As usual, we'll start off with our top trending, and this morning we head straight to Adamawa State, where a House of Rep member has that's been generating a lot of conversation in different spaces across the entire country, where you have 1,000 naira being given to, students or people at the end of the day of a
that particular story, I love pocket money, money for transportation to get to school. Oh, what exactly? I've not been able to get much details concerning that, but it was just all over social media yesterday. It was just a wash.
That's supposed to be, that's expected to be a constituency project. Apparently, that's what I'm thinking in my mind.
What would he term the project? That's what I'm even trying to understand. It's a project for your constituents, and at the end of the day, you're giving each child or each student 1,000 naira. What for exactly?
Scholarship. At the end of the day, 360 members, we get to elect them every other year. Now, the reason why you establish government is for the common good. There's been a lot of, controversy. I really do not know, because it's not like it was stated that, it's a constituency project. But I'm saying, it could appear that that's a constituency project, right? But like I rightly mentioned, the controversy surrounding constituency project has been ongoing. If you look at the fact that the Constitution, however, has not really, of course, the Constitution stipulates the framework, checks and balances of organs of government and what have you. But right now, that's a lot, because you have the argument where some House of Rep members or lawmakers are saying our duty is just to identify this project, and then the National Assembly has been given, the powers empowered by the Constitution to, disburse funds for this project to be executed.
Why should the National Assembly even be disbursing funds or even be?
But that's what the Constitution says. So if you look it's not like the National Assembly carries out this project.
Okay.
That's where the controversy, starts from. The essence or the idea of constituency project is about, democracy, bringing arguments over time is this, that, there's no specification. But this is what the Constitution says. So if you look at 1999, the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, Section 80, if I'm not mistaken, Section 2, Section 3, and thereabout, talks about the fact that, the National Assembly has the rights, been given the powers to, disburse funds or give funds to the spending. And right now, you also have other lawmakers saying, oh yes, our responsibility is just to identify this project. And then the executive arm of government is saddled with the responsibility of executing this project. Right, so you identify it and execute it. But my question is, how many, because we're talking about 360 House of Rep members now in the entire, and every 4 years we get to elect them. Every time you have government is to ensure that, development gets to the grassroots. For the common good of the people, providing public good and all of that. But that's not the case now, because I don't know what that 1,000 naira is for, but I'm just saying if that's a constituency project, it's entirely zero at this point in time. But, the whole argument still boils down to the fact that the Constitution and the controversy, there's no framework as to everything that should happen.
All of that, Mercy, fine. It is actually provided in sections of the Constitution. But my fact is that you're giving each student 1,000 naira. I don't know if that's the core needs of that particular area. I'm sure
it can't be the core needs.
Oh, fine. They have portal. They might have issues with water, infrastructural development. Just need some sort of clarification.
So I think it's a two-way thing. The question now would be if the people, the governed now across the entire country. I mean, because at the end of the day, you find that you have a senator one senator representing, so in the know that this is what it's supposed to be.
Let's even say lawmakers, and they're not in the know.
Let's even say that because the argument over time would be, oh, the Constitution has actually not stipulated who should implement it, as is just to identify, the issues, and then monies will be released. The implementation would be solely dependent on the executive arm of government. But the point is, what's the level of awareness? The governed and, the ruled and the ones that are being ruled. So that's the big question here, and that's why we're not asking the right question. One would expect in the entire federation, how many constituency offices do we have? Because if you should have constituency office, at some point, resources have been disbursed. It's part of the budget. It's supposed to be part of the budget at the state and at the federal level. It's been budgeted for.
No, most of them, they actually do have constituency project, and once in a while they go to their various state and, try to, get to meet visitors. Ordinarily, it is about understanding what the peculiar needs of your constituents are, try to be closer to them.
So how do you understand the needs of your constituents when you don't have a constituency office?
Most of them, no, that's what I'm saying. Most of them actually do, but most of them hardly even get to go to those offices all the time. So at the end of the day, they just do their constituency project based on reports they get from
which report, and that's why one would think that it's okay to give people or students 1,000 naira and call that a scholarship. It's entirely embarrassing and disgraceful. Really I saw comments, a lot of comments that were being generated in that space.
Very laughable ones. I saw laughable comments on
and then someone was saying, how do I tell my counterparts, in the United Kingdom that a House of Rep member is giving $2?
Stay with us.
This is the 6th time that the memorandum are prepared before council, and 6th time got lucky to be passed by council. The very quick, maybe perhaps structure of the proposed airline, government will be owning not more than 5%. Not more than 5%, below 5%. So 5% is the maximum equity that government will take. Then 46% will be owned by Nigerian entrepreneurs, 46%. So if you add that, it's 51%. So 51% majority shareholding by Nigerians. And then 49% will be held by strategic equity partner or partners.
All right, Minister of Aviation, they had a circular outlining just how the takeoff would be ahead of, April 2022. Indeed, we will be having another national carrier. I wonder what it is going to be named. Mercy, remember back in the day we had the Nigeria Airways, we had Air Nigeria, and over time they all had to come to some wonderful crash.
No, but the argument with the fact that government is not a manager of any venture will still be very valid. Let's begin to ask ourselves, how much are we fed? It's not about saying, oh yes, we're going to. It's a brilliant idea, as brilliant as that sounds. But the issue of management would always be key. And because you have cases where I know of a lot of government-owned enterprises where it's been mismanaged, and then you constantly find that even government themselves, they get to use this, they don't pay.
Okay, but
you don't pay for it. The sentiment, it's okay to say all of that. We do a lot of talking. It's brilliant. All that the minister has said sounds very interesting and very good.
But this time around, specifically, it is not going to be federal government owned or managed. From what we understand, the federal government has just about 5% equity. Then international partners have come to about 49, and of course there are 46. That is then 49% equity shares that will be sold to Nigerians. So basically, it is going to be more like a public-owned company. So basically, the management of that particular airline would not just be by the government this time around.
Well, the might. Well, I do believe.
The way you just nodded.
Because we have seen. If you look at history, antecedent, you would begin to question a lot of things. It's okay to say yes, public private partnership, the PPP and what have you, brilliant as it is. But, you know, when you come to our context, you come to our environment, it feels like things are quite different. And so you begin to ask yourself, will the federal might not begin to play place? Will the might of government not begin to play place?
At the end of the day,
yes, at the end of the day, where somebody will show up and say, do you know who I am? Oh, I'm XYZ. Why do people not pay for stuff? Business is business, no sentiment. So at the end of the day, let's not even go into that conversation.
All right, let me just give the federal government the benefit of a doubt. Though it has been approved by the Federal Executive Council, the federal government is hoping that about 70,000 jobs, will be created by such a policy. It is something that Nigerians, might be looking forward to because be proud of. I don't know what they'll term it this time around. Okay, other stories, trending. Is that of the German government trying to train or wanting to train the Nigeria police on protests management?
Yeah, it's brilliant. Part of the reason why we had the protests, the NSAS protests, if you looked at it, is about, the behavior of the Nigerian police force towards the people. So over time, this police brutality, it hasn't ended. It's still there 1 year after. We're still talking about the same issue. We constantly see how, on a daily basis, we see how the police is engaging with the civil populace in a very, very, very sad way. So yes, I'm thinking that it's something that we should embrace. We probably wouldn't have been waiting, for the Germans to actually offer this. We should have actually gone ahead to make plans to have this training. Part of the issues that those who are demanding for reform in the sector have been calling for. Reform the police, that's what it is.
Yes.
With those who are not even, they're not armed. Let's not even, because if you're willing to delve into it, I'm sure that emotions will begin to pop up at the end of the day. So I think that it's brilliant. We should accept it. But, with us, it's another thing to have the training. It's another thing to do. If I want to begin to sound very spiritual now, they say, the Bible would say you hear the word, you do the word. I'm not a preacher, but I think I know the part of the Bible. And so it's the same thing as saying we have a lot of laws, but the issue with it is implementing it. So it's another thing to have this training. It's another thing to do the training. Is another thing to ensure that we have the framework and we have, the environment that will ensure that we are doing what we should do. It's a brilliant one.
I agree. I couldn't agree more with you, Mercy. It is a good one. It is topical. It is timely. What in the wake of, the Lagos NSAS report and series of calls for reformation of the Nigeria police force. And over time, it's not just about just one-off training or one-off training that is. We need constant training, retraining of the Nigeria police force. Then maybe someday over time, I wouldn't want to call him my friend. So if they got the needed training locally, internationally, I believe that over time, somehow they might just begin to imbibe some of the things that
I'm also thinking that, at this point in time, it's also a point where the Nigerian police should pay attention to that particular slogan. Let's begin to define what a friend is. If I'm your friend, I would not want to extort you. I would not want to, punch you and hit you and talk to you harshly. I'm sure I'll find a way to communicate.
You asked me to buy you breakfast the other day. That's not extortion, no?
No, that's not extortion. Did you actually buy me breakfast? You didn't.
All right, that's what's trending this morning across the various social media platforms. We will be taking a break, and when we come back, we'll go off the press and see what the dailies are saying this morning. Do join us again.
Hello and welcome. It's Nimasa This Week, the voice of maritime. Nimasa This Week is brought to you by the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency. Statutorily mandated to ensure that there's regulation and promotion of matters affecting our waters.
About the interesting world of real estate.
Taste and Style, 6:30 p.m. on Saturdays and 5:30 p.m. on Wednesdays.
Nigeria's Niger Delta region, from where the black gold fuels Africa's largest economy, where the lines between wealth and poverty has never been thinner. Conflicts, poverty, insecurity, and environmental challenges daily confront the region. How can the Niger Delta story be changed for the better?
Join Mamude Akuga at 9 p.m. every Friday evening on PlusTvAfrica as he probes deep in search of solutions.
Inside the Niger Delta with Mamude Akuga, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region.
Welcome and find out what is making it big. And on the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper, the banner caption reads, Federal government mulls 2.4 trillion naira palliative as 1.8 trillion naira annual subsidy goes. No provision in 2022 budget. That's what the Senate is quoted to say. 5,000 naira transport grant for 6 to 12 months. Minister is also quoted on that. No template to reach the poor. Labour knocks government, says palliative is a bait. EFCC places Anambra governor, pay your debts, NECO tells state government. 2023, throw presidential ticket open. Babangida Aliyu tells the People's Democratic Party. And ramping students stoned DPO in Ogun State. It was really, really sad incident. You could actually see pictures. I saw pictures of that yesterday. That's so much we can take on the Daily Trust newspaper this morning.
All right, away from the Daily Trust, we'll move on next to the Daily Sun. The main headline for this morning, bandits on rampage in 5 Niger communities. With a rider there, attack, gang rape women. Federal government hasn't paid Abia any dime on federal roads, according to the governor there, that Ikbazu, just beside Masthead. Imo government indicts Okorocha family, confiscates property. With 2 riders, returns seized land to owners, accuses him of sponsoring insecurity in the state. Just beside the pictorial there, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu of Lagos State presenting the 2022 budget estimates to the State Assembly in Ikeja just yesterday. Subsidy Senate counters federal government says 5,000 naira not captured in 2022 budget. All right, Economic Affairs gets lion's share as Sanwo-Olu present 1.38 trillion naira budget for 2022. Nigeria receives looted Benin Ife artifacts from U.S. Museum. At last, Air Nigeria takes off April 2022. Subsidy almost hitting 3 trillion naira annually, laments federal government. President Joe Biden recommend integration of civilians in new security architecture. National Assembly spends 1 billion naira yearly on fruitless constitution review. That's according to Edwin Clark. Challenges Buhari to act on APC restructuring report. Now, bank fraud perpetrated by insiders, according to the EFCC, says rate at which young men are engaging in cybercrime seriously alarming. Kanu, Masob hits Northern Coalition. Those are all the stories you can find on the front page of the Daily Sun this Thursday morning.
Let's check out the Daily Independent newspaper, and the bold caption reads, "We can't control threats in our cyberspace," stakeholders are quoted to say. And underneath you have this rider saying, "Say internet security in Nigeria too open for invasion." And might just be dominating some of the papers. EFCC places Governor Willie Obiano on watch list. And militants again attack Ajib facility in Rivers, threatens more attack. We can't continue with 3 trillion naira annual fuel subsidy. The minister is quoted also on that, and that's still on the Daily Independent newspaper. We'll comply with Electoral Act Amendment Bill once it becomes law. INEC is quoted to say that. At last, federal government sets April asset declaration. Court bars EFCC from investigating Dixon. That's it on the Daily Independent newspaper.
And finally, we will be looking at the Punch, a newspaper. The main headline for this morning, a subsidy, Nigerians to spend 6.7 trillion naira on fuel in 2022. NLC Senate vote 5,000 naira palliative. With 2 riders there, Nigerians to pay additional 34 or 3.4 trillion naira annually on petroleum consumption. Cost of doing business will increase, fuel-induced inflation inevitable. That's according to the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria. Beside the masthead of the Punch, Reps order probe of federal government's abandoned 97 billion naira cancer center. Unijos OOU IMSU named among varsities with 707,189 illegal admissions. Above the masthead, vandalism, oil sector GDP contribution drops by 270 billion naira in 9 months. Senate alleges secret recruitment into federal civil service. With 49% of foreign ownership, Nigeria Air starts operations in April. As state residents protest land grabbers' invasion, demand Lagos intervention. All right, more stories on the Punch. Police bust Ekiti kidnap syndicate, arrest members in Kwara, Osun. Stop Obiano from leaving Nigeria after tenure. EFCC tells immigration. And the final story there this morning, police recover body of Jonathan, ex-AIDS.
All right, so let's head straight to it. Looking at the Daily Trust newspaper this morning, the federal government is planning to spend 2.4 trillion naira as palliative, as 1.8 trillion naira, annual subsidy will go. Does that make any sense? Is it rational?
Absolutely senseless. I will say this with every sense of responsibility. The reason is simple. You cannot pay 1.8 trillion. At the same time, in the papers, we see that they are saying that the subsidy is getting to 3 trillion. So the first question is, which is the correct figure? Is it 1.8 or is it 3 trillion? Now, if it is 1.8, if you cannot pay 1.8, then how are you proposing to pay 2.4? It doesn't make sense. If, on the other hand, it is 3 trillion, and then you now say you bring it down to 2.4 trillion, one can say, okay, but let's look at the differential of the 600 million. Is that where the problem is? But the official figure has been 1.8 trillion. So the question is, if you cannot pay 1.8 trillion, how come you now want to propose 2.4 trillion? It doesn't make sense. Point number one. Point number two, we realize that they've pushed it to 2022, very close to election year 2023. And it reminds me of trader money that came up just before elections in 2019. So we're asking, is this another scam of making money available to be able to pay the boys? And you're asking for a register of 40 million Nigerians. Where is that register as at today? And how is it going to be done so that it's transparent? Are we having another name for trader vice president? And this is somebody that is extremely articulate, cerebral, and upright. So I don't know how he would get himself into what he did, but that is past. But I hope he is not indirectly endorsing another scam or scheme that is politically motivated. Budget lines, am I finding it reflected in? I can't find it. It just brings that main question. Do people understand what governance is all about? And I think as we continue, I would like to say a little bit more, but let's continue because this is one matter we must interrogate. Do we as Nigerians really understand what governance is, what government is? Do we know that there's somebody called a driver, and that if you buy a vehicle, you must know what it is? Do we know what governance is? Do you know the people that should be in government? Have we been able to draw a line between politics and governance? That's why a Nigeria that is so blessed has that ignoble tag of the poverty capital of the world. The time has come when cerebral people, you and I, must wake up and answer these questions.
Okay, but Ezekiel Yaitok, before we move away from this, you have economics or those, economic experts saying for government to remove subsidy, government would need to put some measures in place. They need to put some structures. And this actually looks like, making provision, to cushion the effect of subsidy removal.
It's not about economics. It is just shall be the primary purpose of government. That section gives the foundation to every government policy. I am a businessman. I run my business. The security and welfare of the people is not the primary purpose of my business. Making profit is the primary purpose of my business, or being sustainable. That is the private sector. Now, government is about security and welfare of the people. It is on account of that that government would say, one of the basic needs of us, we subsidize a lot of things for the people to be able to live a life within a reasonable context without the consequential hardship. That is government. So if you want to remove subsidy, it is just commonsensical. It's not about economic policies that you will now ask yourself, is this something that has overrun its stay, so there's really no need for it? We no longer have malaria, we no longer have polio, so we kind of dismantle the structures? Or is it something that we cannot afford to continue to do, so as a result, we are giving an alternative so that that consequential hardship is kind of cushioned? So you put in place their own their own cushion is to say, we are going to be giving 5,000 naira to 2 million people. This is the most stupid thing I've heard in my life. Economy thrives on productivity. 5,000 comes to almost 200 billion monthly that goes into what? Voicemail. Imagine if they said, Nyaitok, please put a team of people together. Let us see this 200 billion that we are proposing. What can we do by way of setting up the MSMEs, by way of setting up productive ventures, by way of putting up things to engage our youths? We cannot afford 200 billion, but let's take 50%, 100 billion, let's say about 3 billion to each of the states every month. What can you do about youth engagement? What sort of cottage industries? Guy, I put up a little post on my Facebook page, and I said, look, with about 50 to 100,000, what can you do? In fact, with 10, I started from 10,000. Overnight, over 800 people applied. 800. I just thought, well, this is this Facebook stuff. I said, if you are serious, no transport for you, nothing. These guys gave me it on record. Mind-boggling, ventures. I could only accommodate about 100 people because of the funds I had. And so many of them have paid back that money. 50,000, 50. Because I started with 100,000, I couldn't accommodate more. I'm a private person. I brought it down to 50,000. Imagine you talking of 2-3 billion. It means that at 300,000, I have 1,000 people monthly to give them 300,000 naira. Imagine what Akwa Ibom will turn into.
All right, Mr.
Imagine how our youth will be engaged. And then they now just want to carry this 200 billion and give ghost people, which you don't have a register, you don't have anything. How are we thinking as government? It bothers me.
All right, other stories are making headlines this morning. Let's just slide over to the Daily Independent. The main story for them this morning is we can't control threats in our cyberspace. That's according to stakeholders. Say internet security in Nigeria too open for invasion. I just want to get your quick comment concerning that.
Look, there has to be a national policy that every youth must carry a laptop. Today is the reverse. You carry a laptop, the police will pounce on you. But the way of the future is the laptop. The way of the future is ICT. Instead of Mr. President being the Minister of Petroleum, he should be the Minister of ICT, because that's the way of the future. Look at what young Nigerians are doing, the unicorns. If you come to a place like Lagos, more money than their parents. In Poland today, I had the AIT ND on my birthday, and I think the mother is Polish. When he put certain things across, I couldn't close my mouth. And we have a nation where children are being hounded for carrying laptop. What a waste. And because they do not see this, the cyber world is global. You can isolate by creating an ecosystem. You can isolate the fraudsters. But because we do not have an understanding of this new generation, of this new age, of this fourth revolution, because we do not have that, we have no plans whatsoever to control and regulate our cyberspace. All we do is run around. We see a young child with a laptop, we carry the person. If it's done in England, if it's done in UK, if it's done in France, if it's done in Italy, it is no rocket science. Go and copy what they're doing. The cyber world is global. Once in a while there's a problem, but it does not mean that because there is a problem once in a while, you have to jettison it.
Commence operation April the 22nd. Sounds like good news.
Sounds like good news, and I'm actually optimistic. Against the run of play, I think that I will, as much as I knock the federal government, is the way of the future, and I agree with them. And, I heard during your preliminary introductions and your banters, the fact that, government will come and say, do you know who I am? That time has come when, you can't, as the MD, I don't know, I'll look at the other time, I think, but it's a private, a PPP, a private public enterprise, and it's working well. I'm doing a PPP with the federal government today, doing an estate, and the Senate committee came and they said this was the best estate they've seen in this country where the federal government is involved. Nobody, no minister has asked me, give me a location. The Fashola, there's nothing I've asked for, he did not give, and he has never one day told me, I need this number of houses. And even the ministry, the staff, they act so professionally because they've seen somebody who wants to act professionally. So it can be done, and I would dare say that it's a success story of a PPP. That can be replicated. They let you be.
All right, another story that spread across some papers this morning is that of the governor of Anambra State, EFC.
We're going there for. The eyes of Nigerians are starting to turn real red, and things are not going to be like it has been in the past. If your motivation is not to serve the people, if your motivation is not going to create impact, if your motivation is to go and loot, just forget it. Because Nigerians are starting to draw a line between the looters and the bakers. There are people in the past who have just been there to loot our commonwealth. They are looters, they are exploiters. That's what they are. And as a result, the cake just keeps shrinking all the time. Nigerians now need bakers. People want to get in there to serve. They want to bake the national cake to be bigger. They are sent therefore on a mission to restore this country. Those are the people that Nigerians are going to crowdfund and change their mindset and get a new country that works. So Mr. Obiano, the time has come when he's got to face his past, and he's got to face his, total agreement, not just on him, but with EFCC, on every public office holder that leaves the office. They should keep him cool somewhere and then interrogate his past before he continues.
But there are some arguments saying that, the energy is not consistent. I mean, you not have the EFCC going after almost every governor. It feels like this probably might just be a witch hunt.
Yeah, there will be a time when we have a government that is not a party. There will be a time when we have a government that is not a party. People don't seem to know how to draw a line between party and government. And the people in power today are not for the essence of the office, which is governance, which is providing the dividends of democracy to the people. They are politicians, which is protecting their party, protecting their own. Come over to our side and you are clean. What an abuse of office. So, sister, don't worry. You are on APC, your sins are forgiven. Pray to God that they continue in power. Even when they continue in power, the Bible says, there arose a Pharaoh who knew not Joseph. It always happens. Okay? APC, they are factions. All you need to do is belong to the wrong faction, and guy has been called for private chat. I thought they said that once he gets to APC that the sins are forgiven. But they say they don't call him for private. I don't know whether he went there and got stubborn. I don't know what it is or what it is. But the fact is that do the right thing and then stay clean.
All right. Another story that is making headlines that is becoming very troublesome or worrying right now is that of renewed militancy. As a caption here in the Independent, militants again attack a jeep for...
And there were several things we did to assuage the feelings of the people and all sorts of rubbish. They felt if they touch the system a little bit, that they will wake up. And to some extent, I think it worked, okay? Now of recent, instead of maintaining the peace, what you find is something infuriating where you say, if you find oil, you become, Niger Delta, okay, NDDC, okay? Now, they miss the essence of the NDDC. It was not a reward system per se. So it was not just because you are oil, set up a reward system where you say if you produce oil, you get this amount of percentage. Those are different compartments. But don't come and say the 13%, which is not for oil production per se, but to undertake remedials for the degradation of the environment over the years, where the people have lost their means of livelihood. They've lost everything that has to do with them. They've been exposed to a lot of health hazards over the years. So see how we can use these funds to ameliorate, as it were, their plight. You don't bring somebody in and say, boom, get it from the beginning. They not only lose the essence, they also infuriate the people. But I think it's for us to talk both to the two sides of the divide. We talk to the system and say, please don't bring in more heat. And we talk to the people and say, please, let's see how we can dialogue and get them to do. But let not the federal government call the bluff of the Niger Deltans. It will be an evil wind that will blow no man no good. At the same time, let us not smite our nose to spite our face. So we are engaging our people. We are talking to them. And I believe that they are listening. But the federal government has to make life easy for us, because a stage comes when you appear to be a traitor. And that is when it gets out of hand and it can be really bad. So I think that both sides of the divide must be engaged as early as possible.
Okay, so let's coast it down now with the Lagos State budget of 1.39 trillion naira, with infrastructure and education topping the list. What are your thoughts?
When Sanwo-Olu removed my brother, Ambode, who was my schoolmate, I was very angry. I was like, why are you doing this to me? Which is the way we think. But I am starting to fall in love with this man. When you have a budget that lays emphasis on education and infrastructure, it is a budget that I will support any day, anytime. The only thing is that I wish he had put health not under infrastructure, but as a separate subhead, because unless you are healthy, education is meaningless. So I wish he had made healthcare, education. My brother Sanwo-Olu, for removing my brother Ambode, I have forgiven you, and we are happy with what you are doing. God bless you. You are thinking right.
All right, thank you, Ezekiel Etok, for all your comment. But just one more before we actually let you go. I just want you to get your quick thought.
Do I say so? We've seen people who went into office, is there on our face, penniless. And then 4 years after, they own so much estate. So what's this ritual of asset declaration and this and that? They are just tools that you just keep, then you can pull it and intimidate. I really don't have faith and confidence in all this asset declaration because it's all over our faces. It's there. It's there. Call any politician and I'll say, what did he have before he got into office? How did he suddenly, you were a lecturer. We know what your salary was. We know where you were living. We've seen you for the past 20 years. We've known you. And then you get into office and you come out and the first thing is you get into Shelter Africa Estate and then boom, there's this mega house that you have and your children are now schooling abroad. Bros, waiting be your salary. So what's all this ritual that about so that the day you want to escape to another place or the way they want you to come to their side, they just pull a piece of paper, show it to you, and then you kind of start singing a new tune. It's something that is more vindictive. People are not afraid of it. It's like, look, just play the game and you are good to go. So I'm not really as excited as people would expect me to be. I'm not. But a day will come when we'll have a governance that is faceless as far as justice is concerned, where they don't care whose ox is God, where you've got to do the right thing. If not so, you do the crime, you do the time. That day will come in Nigeria in my time. I tell you this for a fact. So let them keep dancing naked. Arabanko, God will help them.
Many thanks, Ezekiel Etok. Thank you so much for making our time to be part of the conversation. We really do appreciate and we look forward to having more of you. Thank you so much.
Thanks for the privilege. I do not take this lightly. Thank you.
All right, that's the off the presser segment on the breakfast this morning. We'll be taking what happened this day in history, November the 25th. Stay with us.
Increase the reach of your events or business services to advertise on Plus TV Africa, please call 0906 000 5719 or 0909 040 8408, or send an email to marketing@plustvafrica.com. Plus TV Africa. Big stories live here.
For me, I wanted to change that culture. I didn't believe that until you see a white man or you see a foreigner in the kitchen before you can believe that, you know, good food is going to come out of that kitchen.
You can leverage on each other's spaces and, you know, sell. We believe in Nigeria, right? We believe that Nigeria can get better. We, the youth, are the ones that can make it better.
And my products are proudly made in Nigeria.
Made in Nigeria, showing every Tuesday at 10:30 p.m. and repeats on Saturday at 8:30 a.m.
It is engagement we need to have.
Those who suffer miscarriages are never taken into account.
Members of the National Assembly are also influence peddlers.
You are sitting on Nigerians' money.
From the Babin, I pay my rent. From the Babin, I send my children to school.
A consultative engagement.
No any tangible notification before they ban us.
It's one thing for people to be at your back and the heat of the moment, and another thing for them to still be with you when push comes to shove.
I will do everything to take Lagos out of the national grid.
Are you ready to party right from the comfort of your TV screen? The Rundown's here to save the day. From freshly baked videos to the classics to the youngins and dope conversations, all in one chart. We got you covered. Just tune in to The Rundown every Friday, 10:30 p.m. West African time. The Rundown. Let's turn it up.
Welcome back. It's still The Breakfast on Plus TV Africa, and we will be discussing issues bordering, new renewed militancy in the Niger Delta. Specifically, a new militant group in Rivers State, Bayan men, attacked another oil facility belonging to the Nigerian Ajib Oil Company at Obosi area of Omoko, Oba, Egmama, Ndoni local government area. And we have joining us Professor Kenneth Nweke. Good morning to you. Many thanks for joining us on The Breakfast on Plus TV Africa.
Good morning, Nigerians.
All right, let's talk about this particular bombing that happened along that particular axis, Obosi area of Omoko in Rivers State. What does this really tell you? Over time, we've had some sort of peace and calm in the Niger Delta, but with this new attack, what are we failing to see?
Well, I don't think there's anything to get worried about, but except the fact that this is appearing new because over time there hasn't been this kind of attack. But I don't think that it's something that would be able to send some kind of panic to Nigerians and the people of Niger Delta. But of course, you know that the level of criminality in Nigeria is gone so high, not just about the other parts of the country, but of course, the Niger Delta region has remained very, very peaceful in the last few years. But again, it actually calls for a review of what the Amnesty Office is doing in the Niger Delta in terms of the post-amnesty programs that that office is handling in the Niger Delta region. It also brings to mind.
All right, we'll try and reconnect with Professor Nweke there. He seems to be having some issues with his device. In as much as he said it's nothing to really worry about, I just may want to disagree because they actually bombed that particular facility after the expiration of the ultimatum that they gave to the Nigeria Ajib oil facility. But then again, they are saying that they are not criminals, that they are intellectuals. The fact is that they, when a man, I'm just quoting them verbatim, the fact is that when a man is pushed to the wall, he bounces back with double force. We are giving Ajib another 7 days to open windows of negotiation with the 27 communities of Omoko clan. I don't know if we'll have Professor Nweke back. All right, Mercy, I think it's something we should indeed be worried about because there has been a relative calm in that area, but with all of this renewed bombing, I don't know, in my opinion, it is actually sending the wrong signals.
Well, first of all, we would have to understand that the Niger Delta region has actually been going through a lot. I mean, the concerns, the fact that the source of livelihood has actually been destroyed over time due to the activities of this international companies, of course, oil exploration and what have you over the years. And the issue of oil, I mean, the principle of derivation, the 13% is still ongoing and what have you. But the concern now would be finding out what the motive is, what actually is the motive. Are we still fighting the same cause? Let's not forget about the fact that this is actually a new group. I mean, this is a new militant group as it is, and it is not, the usual that we know. What cause are they fighting for? Could it be the cause for justice? And I'm also hoping that, Professor Kenneth...
He's back online.
He's back online. All right, Professor Kenneth Nweke.
Yeah, sorry, thank you.
It's good to have you join us back again. So just as I and my colleague were having a banter in the studio, the next question would be, do you think that this is actually a fight for justice or is just also another means of making money, selfish purpose or interest?
Of course, I don't think it's a fight for justice for the people of Niger Delta. A lot of people have been over time been made to believe that these kind of attacks are meant to address. And so you have the northeast, you have the northwest, and then you have the southwest. You have also the southeast, and then of course the Niger Delta region has been very, very quiet over time. And probably this is another upsurge that you would not want to associate, with the level of injustices that are meted out for the Niger Delta region. I have always said clearly, and I can be put on record, that yes, it's not enough from what the federal government is doing in the Niger Delta region or the oil multinational. But if we're at least are sincere enough that we are able to utilize what is being done for the Niger Delta region from the government and oil companies, then we would have addressed most of the challenges, even though they are not enough to address the enormity of the challenges. As I speak to you, I come from a community in Igbo in Chief, and so that has over 350 oil and gas wells. But from Obibo end to Igbo Chief in River State, you cannot access the place. It's deplorable. And these are things that can challenge the people into this kind of attacks. But I think that even with this forensic audit report and all that, the government needs to, the federal government needs to put, their feet on the ground to ensure that whoever that is coming as the board members of the NDDC actually are genuinely committed to developing the Niger Delta region. In line, I also work in synergy with oil multinational. As we speak today, SPDC is planning to dive in all that. So, household